Close your eyes for just a moment and notice the quiet hum of your own awareness. It is there, steady, like the soft glow of a lantern in the evening. But here is the great mystery. What is this awareness, and where does it come from? You might say, it comes from the brain. That's what science usually tells us. Billions of neurons firing, electrical sparks dancing, chemistry flowing. But is that all? Is your mind nothing more than tiny switches flicking on and off endlessly? Or could it be something deeper? For centuries, poets, mystics, and philosophers have whispered the same question. Is consciousness a thing we make, or is it something we receive? And now science itself is beginning to ask the same, because deep within the fabric of physics, where particles flicker in and out of existence, where rules blur into strangeness, there may be clues that our minds are connected to the universe in ways we can barely imagine. This idea is called quantum consciousness. It is both dazzling and controversial, both inspiring and mysterious. It does not claim final answers, but it dares to ask, could your thoughts be woven into the very structure of reality itself? So let us begin. Consciousness, a word so familiar and yet so slippery. Trying to grasp it, and it dissolves in your hand like mist. You know you are conscious because you are here, listening, breathing, noticing. But if someone were to ask you what exactly is consciousness, what would you say? Is it thought? Is it feeling? Is it the awareness of being aware? Neuroscientists study the brain and see a symphony of neurons firing. They can point to areas that light up when you see a face, or recall a memory, or feel joy. But here's the puzzle. Those sparks and patterns don't explain what it feels like to be you. This is called the hard problem of consciousness. It is the question, why does brain activity create subjective experience at all? Why is there an inner world of colors, sounds, emotions, and thoughts instead of just silent machinery? Think of the stars. You look up at them and see their twinkling light, but inside your mind there is another sky, a canvas where images form, where thoughts drift like constellations. How does this private, inner sky arise from matter? How does the firing of neurons create the deep, undeniable experience of being? Some scientists say consciousness is an emergent property, something that simply arises when complexity reaches a certain threshold. Just as water is wet and snowflakes form patterns, so too does the brain give rise to mind. But others argue that this is not enough. They believe that consciousness might be something fundamental, not produced by matter, but woven into the universe itself, just as space and time are. This is where quantum physics steps in, because at the deepest level, matter itself behaves in strange ways that defy classical explanation, and perhaps within that strangeness lies a doorway to understanding consciousness. Imagine looking closer and closer at the world around you. You begin with the trees, the rivers, the stones, then you zoom in. Leaves, bark, grains of sand, smaller still, molecules, atoms, particles, until suddenly you are in the world of the quantum. Here, the ordinary rules we know seem to break apart. Particles act like both waves and solid points. They exist in multiple places at once, a phenomenon called superposition. They can become mysteriously linked across vast distances, a connection known as entanglement, and sometimes simply observing them changes what they are. It is a world of shimmering uncertainty, of probabilities instead of certainties. Physicist Niels Bohr once said, "If quantum mechanics hasn't profoundly shocked you, you haven't understood it yet." Now, what does this have to do with your mind? At first glance, nothing. The brain is warm, wet, and full of noise. Quantum effects, scientists once thought, only mattered in tiny, delicate systems. Surely neurons were too messy, too large. But then came a question. What if, hidden deep inside the architecture of the brain, there were structures small enough, precise enough, to sustain quantum effects? And what if these effects were not random but meaningful, giving rise to thought, awareness, even free will? The idea was daring. It suggested that the brain might not just be a biological machine, but also a quantum instrument, a delicate bridge between matter and mind. This is the doorway to quantum consciousness. For most of history, the mind was a matter for philosophy and religion. Then neuroscience entered, with its brain scans, its chemical analyses, its precise maps. And neuroscience has achieved wonders. It has explained memory, perception, even how moods rise and fall. But still, the question lingers, why is there a self experiencing all this? This is where quantum theories of consciousness step forward. They don't deny the brain's biology, they embrace it, but they add a layer of mystery beneath it, a layer where physics and awareness might touch. The most famous of these is the OR theory, orchestrated objective reduction, proposed by physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff. They suggested that tiny structures inside neurons, called microtubules, might host quantum processes. These processes, they argued, could collapse in ways that create flashes of conscious experience. In their view, consciousness is not just the product of brain chemistry, but the result of quantum events happening at the smallest scale of reality. Not everyone agrees, of course. Many scientists remain skeptical. But the beauty of this theory is not just in whether it is true, but in what it dares to suggest. That your mind may not be sealed inside your skull, but instead connected through quantum threads to the very fabric of the universe. Imagine that for a moment. Each thought, each flicker of awareness, like a tiny ripple spreading across the cosmos. Each dream, not merely private, but a note in a vast, mysterious song. And so the journey begins, half science, half wonder, into the question of how your brain might connect to the universe itself. Let's take a slow step further into the mystery. Imagine yourself shrinking, smaller and smaller, down into the hidden architecture of your own brain. You pass the layers of tissue, the branching neurons like a great forest, until you reach the slender tubes that run through each cell, the microtubules. Microtubules are like the scaffolding of your neurons, thin cylindrical structures that support shape and transport. But to Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, they were more than scaffolding. They were something astonishing. Tiny quantum instruments. Penrose was a physicist. He was fascinated by the limits of artificial intelligence. He believed that no matter how advanced computers became, they could never truly replicate human consciousness. Why? Because he thought the brain was not merely crunching numbers. It was doing something deeper, something rooted in quantum physics. Hameroff, an anesthesiologist, had spent years studying microtubules, noticing how they seemed to hum with patterns of vibration. When he met Penrose, a spark ignited. What if these structures were the seat of quantum processes? Together, they formed the Orchestrated Objective Reduction Theory, or ORC-OR. In simple terms, the theory suggests that microtubules allow quantum superpositions to form, states where possibilities coexist. Then, at certain moments, these superpositions collapse into one outcome, and each collapse creates a pulse of conscious experience. Imagine it like this. Your mind is a symphony. The microtubules are the strings of a cosmic harp, vibrating with delicate quantum melodies. Each time a string resolves, each time the wave collapses, a note of awareness rings out. And from the weaving of these notes, consciousness emerges. Penrose and Hameroff's idea was daring. It suggested that the spark of awareness in your mind was not just neurons firing, but the universe itself making choices at the quantum level. Critics laughed. They said the brain was too warm, too noisy for quantum effects to survive. But slowly, evidence began to creep in. Studies of photosynthesis showed that plants use quantum coherence to transfer energy. Birds seem to navigate using quantum entanglement in their eyes. If nature could preserve quantum states in such surprising ways, why not the brain? And so the hypothesis lingered. Fragile, controversial, but luminous. Like a candle in a dark room, it lit the imagination with the possibility that your mind is far more mysterious than science once believed. Now, imagine your brain not as a machine, but as a musical instrument. A grand piano with 86 billion keys, each note a note, each microtubule a delicate string. Most of the time, this piano plays in the realm of biology, electrical signals, chemical messengers, circuits and pathways. But beneath it, according to quantum theories, lies another layer, softer, stranger, like hidden harmonics in the music. These are the quantum states, possibilities, entanglements, delicate dances at the edge of existence. What if your thoughts, your awareness, were not the pounding of keys, but the shimmer of these harmonics? What if your brain is tuned to play not just the music of biology, but the faint music of the universe itself? To picture this, think of a radio. You turn the dial, and the static clears to reveal a station. The station is always there, but without tuning, you cannot hear it. In the same way, your neurons may act as tuning forks, amplifying, collapsing, shaping the quantum signals into the rich experience of being alive. Every perception, every choice may be the brain gently collapsing a field of infinite possibilities into one lived reality. You see a flower, and in that moment, out of endless possibilities, your consciousness selects this image, this feeling, and so reality crystallizes. Some scientists speculate that this quantum layer may even give rise to free will. In classical physics, every action has a predictable reaction, deterministic, mechanical. But in quantum physics, probabilities reign. And within those probabilities may lie the space where choice emerges. So when you decide to turn left instead of right, or whisper instead of shout, perhaps it is not only neurons making calculations. Perhaps, at some deep level, it is the quantum field itself resolving uncertainty into the poetry of your life. Your brain, then, is not a closed box, but an instrument in tune with the cosmos, and every note you play adds to the vast ongoing symphony of the universe. Now let's take the leap that turns science into wonder. If quantum processes in the brain connect to the very fabric of reality, what does that mean for consciousness itself? Some thinkers suggest that consciousness is not produced by the brain at all. Instead, the brain is more like a receiver, a finely tuned antenna that picks up signals from a greater field of awareness. Imagine a vast ocean, infinite and silent. Each of our minds is like a wave rising from its surface, unique in form, distinct in movement, yet inseparable from the water beneath. When the wave falls back, the ocean remains, endless, whole. This is the cosmic field of mind, a universal consciousness that underlies everything, from atoms to galaxies, from thoughts to stars. In this view, when you think, when you dream, when you feel love or sadness, you are not isolated. You are a ripple in the universal sea. Your awareness is part of something greater, something timeless. It is a daring idea, one that blurs the boundaries between physics and philosophy, but it resonates with whispers from ancient traditions, Buddhism, Vedanta, mysticism, all of which speak of the unity of mind and cosmos. If the brain is a radio, then consciousness is the broadcast. The signal is not lost when one radio breaks, it continues, carried by the field. In the same way, perhaps your individual mind is a temporary expression of something eternal, something woven into the quantum fabric of reality itself. Think of it this way. When you look at the stars and feel a strange kinship with their cold fire, maybe it's not just poetry. Maybe it's memory. Maybe your consciousness is not reaching out to the universe, but remembering that it was always part of it. Long before physics was born, before microscopes and equations, humans gazed at the stars and whispered that the mind and the cosmos were one. The Upanishads of India declared, "As is the human mind, so is the cosmic mind." Taoist sages spoke of the Tao, the unseen flow binding all things. Mystics of every tradition, from Sufi poets to Christian contemplatives, described experiences of dissolving the self and merging with something vast, luminous, and infinite. At the time, these were words of philosophy and faith, not science. Yet, strangely, they echo the questions of quantum consciousness today. Could it be that what mystics intuited in silence, science is now beginning to probe with equations? Consider meditation. For thousands of years, people have practiced stillness, quieting their thoughts, until they sense a unity with the world. Modern neuroscience shows that meditation changes brain waves, synchronizes regions, and calms the nervous system. But beyond the measurements, many practitioners describe something harder to define, a deep sense of oneness, as if their minds have brushed against the fabric of reality itself. Now picture quantum entanglement, particles separated by miles, yet behaving as one. 2 points, but one reality. Doesn't it sound eerily similar to the mystical claim that all things are connected beneath the surface? Of course, mysticism and physics are not the same. But it is beautiful to notice how human beings, across time, have sensed a hidden unity, whether through prayer, meditation, poetry, or science. Perhaps quantum consciousness is not a brand new idea, but the modern language of an ancient truth, that your mind is not isolated, but part of the great weave of existence. Let's wander now into the landscape of dreams. When you fall asleep, your brain does not switch off. Instead, it enters a world of shifting images, impossible stories, vivid feelings. In dreams, you can fly, meet long-lost friends, visit places that never existed, and wake with the sense that it was all real. Where do these strange experiences come from? Neuroscience says dreams are the byproduct of memory processing, emotional sorting, the random firing of neurons. That may be true, but does it explain why dreams feel so alive, so charged with meaning? Some have wondered if dreams are moments when the mind slips into a different layer of reality, a layer that is less fixed, more fluid, like the quantum realm itself. Think of quantum superposition, particles existing in multiple states at once. Isn't that what happens in dreams? You are both yourself and someone else, both here and there, both past and present, until you awaken and the wave collapses into a single memory. Imagination, too, is a mystery. With no external trigger, the brain conjures images, music, entire worlds. It creates what does not yet exist. Could imagination be the mind tapping into possibilities at the quantum level, glimpsing patterns not yet woven into the fabric of time? Einstein once said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination encircles the world." Perhaps he intuited that imagination is a bridge, a way for the individual mind to connect to the endless potential of the universe. So, the next time you dream of walking through impossible cities or imagine futures that have not yet arrived, consider this. Maybe your mind is playing in the quantum field, where reality is still soft clay,
waiting to be shaped.
Now, let us move carefully into a deeper, more delicate question. Is consciousness confined to the brain, or does it sometimes reach beyond? Reports of near-death experiences often describe a strange clarity when the brain should be shutting down. Visions of light, feelings of unity, encounters beyond time. Scientists debate whether these are chemical hallucinations or glimpses of something greater. Then there are stories of intuition. A mother suddenly sensing her child is in danger, only to discover it is true. Twins feeling each other's emotions across continents. Lovers knowing what the other is about to say before words are spoken. Skeptics call these coincidences. But what if, just as entangled particles remain mysteriously linked, human minds can also connect at a quantum level? What if consciousness is not locked in individual skulls, but capable of reaching out, touching, resonating with others in ways we do not yet understand? Even in ordinary life, there are hints of this. When you sit with someone in silence and feel utterly connected, when a song stirs emotions in millions at once, when a crowd breathes together, moved by the same moment. These are not just private experiences, they are shared, as if consciousness itself is a field in which we all participate. The idea is both thrilling and humbling. It means that perhaps your thoughts ripple further than you know. That love, compassion, kindness may not just be emotions, but energies that resonate across the quantum field of mind. If this is true, even a little, then every act of awareness is also a contribution to the universe. You are not just an observer of reality. You are part of its unfolding. Among scientists and philosophers, there is a phrase that drifts like a cloud over every discussion of the mind: the hard problem of consciousness. The term was given by philosopher David Chalmers in the 1990s. The easy problems, he said, are things like memory, perception, attention. Complex but solvable. We can map neurons, measure activity, track pathways. But the hard problem is different. It is the question of why there is something it feels like to be you. Why does electrical activity in the brain produce the taste of chocolate, the ache of sadness, the warmth of love? Why do patterns of firing neurons not just process information, but also give rise to experience? Science can show us which parts of the brain light up when you see red, but it cannot explain why red feels so vivid, so full, so alive inside your awareness. That inner spark, called qualia, remains unexplainable. Some neuroscientists believe the answer will one day emerge from biology. But others, like Chalmers, suspect something deeper is at play. Maybe consciousness is not just an emergent property. Maybe it is fundamental, like space, time, and matter. And if it is fundamental, then it must be woven into the very fabric of the universe. This is where quantum theories step in, not as a final answer, but as a possibility. They whisper that consciousness may not come after physics, but may already be inside it, pulsing quietly in every particle, waiting for brains like ours to tune in. The hard problem, then, is not a wall, it is a doorway. A reminder that some mysteries are not meant to be solved quickly, but lived with gently, like stars that shine because they are far beyond our reach. Close your eyes for a moment, and imagine your brain as an orchestra. Each neuron is an instrument, billions of them playing together. Some beat like drums, steady rhythms of signals. Others sing like violins, delicate, high-pitched spikes of electricity. But deep inside each neuron are the microtubules we met earlier. Tiny strings, smaller than imagination, vibrating in quantum patterns. They are like the hidden harmonics beneath the music, the subtle undertones that shape the whole. Together, these layers create the symphony of mind. A thought begins as a whisper, an impulse of possibility like a single note hanging in the air. It gathers companions, other neurons firing, microtubules humming, chemicals flowing, and soon the orchestra swells. A memory is recalled, an image flashes, an emotion blooms. Light flickers through the brain as electrical signals race along neurons, like fireflies sparking across a dark meadow. And beneath it all, perhaps, the quantum music of the microtubules glimmers softly, adding a hidden rhythm that gives rise to awareness. Some researchers have even described the brain's electrical activity as a kind of light show. Though invisible to our eyes, it is there. Photons released during certain neural processes, sparks of biophotonic activity. A literal orchestra of light inside your skull. And if the brain is indeed such an orchestra, then consciousness is not the conductor standing apart. It is the music itself. Flowing, dynamic, always changing, never frozen. Awareness is not a thing, but a performance, a living symphony that begins anew each moment.
This image is calming, isn't it? To think of your thoughts not as mechanical computations, but as music. To realize that you are at every instant a concert of light and rhythm, an orchestra that plays the universe's most intimate melody, the experience of being you. Now let's step gently from the orchestra of the brain into the wide, shared field of human experience. You've likely felt it before. The sudden sense that you and another person are more than just two bodies in a room. A deep connection, unspoken, undeniable. Lovers often describe it, twins often feel it, close friends sometimes know each other's thoughts without a word. Is this just psychology? Or could it be something deeper, something quantum? In the strange world of quantum mechanics, entanglement is one of the most baffling phenomena. Two particles can become linked so that whatever happens to one instantly affects the other, no matter how far apart they are. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. Now imagine if consciousness itself could entangle. If minds could resonate like tuning forks, vibrating together across distance. Could this explain why a mother wakes in the night, moments before her child calls? Why one twin feels the other's pain? Why you sometimes think of someone at the exact moment they think of you? Skeptics dismiss such stories as coincidence. And yet in quantum physics, coincidence is replaced with connection, hidden threads binding what seems separate. Perhaps human consciousness participates in something similar. Perhaps we are not sealed in individual minds, but woven together in a web of awareness. When you smile at a stranger, when you comfort a friend, when you love someone across miles, you are not just sending signals. You may be resonating in the quantum field of consciousness itself. Even if science has not yet proven it, the beauty of the idea remains that none of us are truly alone, that your mind is not an island, but a bridge, that in ways both small and profound, you are connected to every other being under the same vast sky. When we listen closely to the world around us, we hear vibrations, the hum of an insect's wings, the distant roll of thunder, the whisper of leaves rustling in a midnight breeze. These are the macroscopic echoes of a deeper truth. Everything in the universe vibrates. Not just matter as we know it, but the very building blocks of existence, electrons, atoms, molecules, and even the strange filaments that some physicists imagine lie beneath the quantum fabric. Your brain, too, is alive with vibration. Neurons fire in rhythmic pulses, waves of electricity sweep across the cortex like tides rolling over a shore. Theta waves emerge in dreamlike states. Gamma bursts spark in moments of insight. Even when you are still, your brain sings. Quantum consciousness theory suggests that these neural rhythms may not merely be chemical or electrical. They may be the echoes of quantum vibrations, minute oscillations within the microtubules of neurons. Some researchers call this orchestrated objective reduction, a long phrase to describe a simple yet astounding idea that consciousness arises when quantum vibrations collapse into moments of awareness, like the strike of a note in a cosmic symphony.
Imagine, then, your very thoughts as harmonies played on the smallest strings of reality. Each emotion, each memory, each flicker of awareness is not just electrical activity in the skull, but part of a larger orchestra, tuned to the vibrations of the cosmos. The entire universe might be one endless song, and you, quietly drifting to sleep now, are one of its notes, resonating softly in the night. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the universe looking back at itself through your mind. The stars stretch outward, galaxies spin, and in this immensity, a tiny cluster of atoms, arranged just so in your brain, begins to reflect upon the whole. This is the profound suggestion at the heart of quantum consciousness, that the universe, through us, becomes aware of itself. For billions of years, the cosmos was silent, or at least unaware of its own vastness. Suns were born and burned out, planets formed and shattered, black holes swallowed whole galaxies. But with life, and with minds like ours, something changed. A mirror appeared. Physicists often describe quantum particles as existing in a haze of probability until they are observed. Could it be that consciousness, by observing, does more than witness reality? Could it bring the universe into sharper being? When you wonder about your place in the cosmos, you are not apart from it. You are not a lonely creature looking outward at something vast and foreign. You are the cosmos, folding in on itself, seeing itself from within. In this sense, you are not dreaming of the universe. The universe is dreaming through you. And just as your dreams may flicker with strange images and shifting landscapes, perhaps reality itself is the dreamscape of a consciousness far greater than our own. Quantum entanglement is one of the most baffling discoveries of modern science. Two particles, once linked, remain connected across any distance. Change one, and the other responds instantly, as if distance were irrelevant, as if space and time themselves were only surface illusions. Now pause and wonder, if particles can be entangled, can consciousness be entangled too? Think of the times you've thought of someone just as they called, or felt an unshakable sense that a loved one far away was in distress, only to learn it was true. Such experiences may not be mere coincidence. Some thinkers propose that consciousness itself could be linked by entanglement, binding human minds in ways science is only beginning to imagine. In this vision, you're never truly separate. Your mind is not an isolated island of thought, but part of an ocean, connected by invisible threads to every other conscious being. The joy you feel, the kindness you offer, the love you give may ripple outward through this entangled web, touching lives you will never see. And in the stillness of night, when you let go and drift towards sleep, perhaps you can sense it, a subtle pull, a resonance, a reminder that you are part of something larger, infinite, and timeless. The entanglement of souls. Imagine a spider's web stretched across the branches of a tree. A single vibration at one corner ripples outward, touching every strand, no matter how far. Quantum physics suggests that something like this exists at the smallest scales of reality. Particles can become entangled, bound together in such a way that the state of one instantly shapes the state of the other, even across vast distances. Now imagine this not only as a physical phenomenon, but as a metaphor for consciousness. What if minds are entangled too? We all know the uncanny feeling of thinking of someone just as they send a message or finishing another's sentence with perfect timing. Science often brushes this away as coincidence, but the quantum mind hypothesis dares to ask,
Could these connections be a faint echo of deeper entanglement? Entangled particles don't exchange information in the way we normally think. Instead, they exist as one system, stretched across space. In this poetic sense, perhaps our minds are not islands, but waves in a shared ocean, resonating in subtle ways, harmonizing without effort. Picture a choir singing in a cathedral. Each voice is distinct, yet all blend into a single current of sound, filling the air and walls with something greater than the sum of individuals. Consciousness, too, may work this way. Your thoughts ripple outward, my thoughts ripple outward. Somewhere, invisibly, they meet. There is a quiet idea whispered in both physics and philosophy that the universe is not just a container for life, but a participant in it. That consciousness is not something humans invented, but something that cosmos has been nurturing since the first atoms learned to dance. Imagine for a moment that the universe itself is a dreamer. Every star, a spark of thought, every galaxy, a swirl of imagination, every life, every mind, a tiny flame burning inside its greater vision. We often speak of dreams as something private, personal, the secret theater of the mind. But what if your dreams are a continuation of the universe's own dream? The atoms of your body once belonged to ancient stars. The rhythms of your brain echo the cycles of planets and moons. In this way, you are the universe reflecting on itself, like a mirror catching its own gaze. Some physicists describe reality itself as a kind of quantum simulation, not a machine simulation, but a shimmering probability field, unfolding possibilities. And perhaps consciousness is the interpreter, the translator, the witness of this great play. To fall asleep, then, is to slip deeper into the dream of existence. To awaken is to briefly remember your role in the vast cosmic mind. Close your eyes for a moment. Beneath your worries, beneath your planning, beneath even the stories you tell yourself about who you are, there is something quieter. A rhythm, a pulse, a kind of music. Scientists measure it as brain waves, slow delta waves when you sleep, faster gamma bursts when you focus, rippling alpha rhythms when you drift. But beneath these technical names lies a deeper truth. The brain is an instrument, and consciousness is its song. Every thought is a note, every emotion a chord. Together they weave into melodies, some gentle and soothing, others stormy and restless. Now imagine that this song doesn't stay trapped inside your skull. Just as vibrations travel from the violin strings into the air, so too may your thoughts ripple outward. The quantum brain theory suggests that microtubules inside neurons may resonate at the edge of quantum reality, linking your inner music to the wider field of the cosmos. It is a poetic possibility that thinking is not just a private act, but a way of participating in the music of the universe. That when you quiet your mind, you are tuning in. That when you focus on love, compassion, or beauty, you are striking notes that resonate far beyond what you can hear. The great philosopher Pythagoras once spoke of the music of the spheres, the idea that the cosmos itself hums with harmony. Modern science may not fully agree, but deep down, perhaps we already know. The universe sings, and so do we. If you've ever listened to the quiet notes of a violin warming up, or the hushed resonance of a piano string just before the melody begins, you know the feeling of something poised between silence and song. Quantum physics describes reality in a similar way, as probabilities suspended in possibility, waiting to be played into existence. Your brain, too, hums with probability. Every thought you might think, every action you might take, begins as a spread of options.
a shimmering mist of potential outcomes. Neurons prepare several possibilities, holding them in a delicate balance before the brain chooses one to actualize. In this sense, the mind is not a fixed machine, but an instrument tuned to probabilities. Each decision you make collapses a field of possibilities into a lived reality. Some physicists and philosophers wonder, could this resemble the way the universe itself collapses quantum waves? Are you, through your mind, participating in the same hidden music that guides galaxies, atoms, and stars? Close your eyes for a moment and imagine every choice, every dream, every heartbeat as part of a cosmic score, played on an instrument so vast it includes both your neurons and the distant starlight. Picture yourself standing before a still lake at dawn. The water reflects your image, but it also reflects the clouds, the rising sun, and the silent trees around you. The reflection is not you, but it contains you. Consciousness might work in a similar way. Some researchers suggest that the self, the I that you experience, is not a fixed entity, but a reflection of countless quantum events. Your awareness is like the shimmering surface of the lake, arising from deeper patterns of probability and energy. This perspective means that who you are is not static. Like a reflection, you change as the light changes, as the wind moves across the water, as the seasons pass. And yet, beneath all that movement, there's a deeper reality, the water itself, the quantum substrate of being. When you gaze inward, when you meditate or dream, you may be looking into this quantum mirror. You may be catching faint glimpses of the vastness behind your sense of self. And perhaps that vastness is not just yours, but belongs to the universe itself. What if the universe itself is dreaming? This idea, found in ancient traditions as well as modern theories, invites us to see consciousness not as a byproduct of matter, but as something woven into the very structure of reality. In this view, your imagination is not isolated inside your skull. It is a spark of the greater imagination that brought stars into being, that painted nebula across space, that gave birth to time itself. Every time you imagine, you participate in this cosmic creativity. When you picture a world that doesn't yet exist, when you recall a memory and reshape it, when you daydream in the soft glow of evening, you may be tapping into the same creative current that shaped the galaxies. Scientists describe the quantum field as a sea of infinite possibility. Poets describe the mind as a sky of endless thought. Both, perhaps, are pointing to the same truth, that imagination is the universe remembering itself through you. So, as you drift further into thought tonight, consider this. You are not merely imagining, you are a doorway through which the cosmos imagines itself. There is a mysterious whisper in physics, a phenomenon called quantum entanglement. When two particles interact and then separate, they remain mysteriously linked. Change the state of one, and the other responds instantly, no matter the distance between them. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. Physicists today call it one of the deepest puzzles of nature. Now imagine for a moment that human minds, in their deepest, quietest states, might mirror this strange phenomenon. Could our thoughts, emotions, or even dreams ripple outward in subtle ways, connecting us to others far beyond what our senses perceive? Some studies in parapsychology suggest coincidences that feel more than chance. A mother who suddenly knows her child is in danger, a twin who feels the other's pain, or the uncanny moment when two friends think the same thought and speak it at once. Skeptics call these accidents of probability, but perhaps, if consciousness is woven into the quantum fabric of reality,
Such events are not accidents at all. The idea is not that brains send radio signals like transmitters, but rather that all minds might already exist in a shared quantum field. Like entangled particles, we may carry hidden threads of connection, threads that science has yet to measure. So as you drift in thought, consider this. Are your moments of sudden knowing, of feeling a bond across miles, fragments of this unseen quantum web? Quantum mechanics allows particles to do something extraordinary. They can tunnel through barriers that classical physics insist they cannot cross. Imagine a ball rolling toward a wall, and instead of stopping, it simply appears on the other side. That is quantum tunneling. Now, think of the human mind. Sometimes we feel trapped by fears, by habits, by the weight of past memories. The walls seem unbreakable. Yet occasionally, insight arrives like a flash. Suddenly, a new perspective opens. A poet finds the perfect line. A scientist sees the solution to an impossible problem. Or a person burdened with grief suddenly feels light again. Could this be the brain's own version of tunneling? Perhaps consciousness, riding the probabilities of quantum states, slips past the mental walls that logic alone cannot breach. If so, the creative leap, the sudden healing, the flash of inspiration are not mere accidents. They are tunnels through the impossible. In this way, quantum tunneling becomes a metaphor, and maybe more than metaphor. It is a hint that the human spirit is not bound entirely by the barriers it perceives. So when you feel stuck, when the wall looms large before you, remember, the universe itself is built on particles that pass through walls. Your mind, too, might find the opening.
At the foundation of quantum theory lies the wave function, a mathematical description of all possible states a particle could take. Only when measured does the particle collapse into a single outcome. Until then, it exists as a shimmering symphony of possibilities. What if consciousness itself is like this? Before you choose, before you act, your mind holds countless possibilities. Do you speak or remain silent? Do you turn left or right? The wave function of thought is wide and infinite, narrowing only when you decide. Perhaps the richness of human imagination springs from this quantum root. We are not locked into one path, but dwell in a sea of potentials. This could explain creativity, free will, and the subtle sense that life itself is a branching tree, each moment alive with choices not yet taken. In this vision, you are not a fixed being, but a composer, drawing notes from a cosmic score. Each decision is a note struck, collapsing possibility into reality, while the unplayed music still hums in the background, waiting. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine you are the wave function of the universe, dreaming itself into form. Each choice you make is not small, but cosmic, not isolated, but woven into the greater symphony of being. Imagine the universe as a vast mirror, one that does not merely reflect light, but thought itself. When you look into this mirror, you are not just seeing the world, you are also shaping it. Quantum physics whispers of this, that the act of observation is not passive, but participatory. To measure is to alter, to witness is to create. What if consciousness is the universe gazing upon itself, endlessly folding inward like a hall of mirrors? Every thought, every awareness becomes part of the reflection. You are not separate from reality, you are its echo, its shimmer, its self-recognition. In this light, reality becomes a dialogue between mind and cosmos. Matter and thought are partners in a dance, neither leading nor following, but weaving one another into form. The photon awaits your gaze.
The particle holds its breath until you arrive. This suggests something profound. Consciousness is not an accidental byproduct of the universe. It is its very mirror, its way of knowing itself. Without the mirror, the play of existence would be unobserved, unrealized, incomplete. Pause for a moment. Feel the vastness of this idea. The stars above you are not distant, indifferent fires. They are your reflection, glittering back the awareness that gazes at them. In their light, you find your own. And in your light, the universe finds itself. There is a strange and delicate idea whispered at the edges of physics that observation itself shapes reality. A particle exists in many places at once, yet the moment it is observed, it chooses. The act of looking changes what is seen. What does this mean for us? Could it be that the universe does not exist as a silent stage waiting for us to enter, but as a mirror reflecting back the gaze of consciousness? When you look at the stars, do they shine only because you are here to see them? It is not that the cosmos depends on us alone, but perhaps awareness and reality are forever entangled, like two dancers who cannot move without one another. The quantum mirror suggests that existence itself is participatory, that life is not a script already written, but a story unfolding only when read. Close your eyes now and imagine the universe watching itself through you. Every thought, every breath, every quiet choice becomes a reflection in the cosmic glass. You are not separate from the stars, not an outsider peering in. You are the gaze, the dream, the awareness through which reality becomes real. In this mirror, there is no boundary between seer and seen, only the shimmering dance of being, endlessly folding back upon itself, endlessly becoming. As we journey through these ideas, of particles that flicker in and out of being, of choices that collapse into the music of existence, we eventually arrive at a horizon, a place where words fall quiet, where even thought begins to dissolve into a gentle silence. Perhaps consciousness is not something to be solved like a riddle, but to be lived, like the slow unfolding of a dawn sky. Quantum theory gives us metaphors, mirrors held up to the mystery, showing us how the unseen might ripple into the seen. But beyond the mathematics, beyond the speculation, there is still the raw, luminous fact of awareness itself, this quiet moment in which you are listening, breathing, existing. The deepest truth may not lie in equations or experiments, but in the simple astonishment that you are here at all. A self suspended in a vast and unknowable universe, able to wonder, able to dream. So let us close gently. You are part of this cosmic fabric, both question and answer, both wave and particle. Your life is a rare and fleeting pattern in the infinite dance. Treasure it, explore it. And when you gaze at the stars, or at the quiet spaces of your own mind, remember, perhaps the universe is not only around you, but also within you, thinking itself awake through you. And now, we let the mystery rest.